Um, Hello, Virgo. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between healthy interest and unhealthy obsession, and why one deserves your attention while the other deserves your caution. Mental preoccupation isn't romantic, it's not proof of deep connection, it's not evidence of soulmate bond, it's not validation of your specialness or their devotion. It's just someone's thoughts circling repetitively around you, which could mean genuine affection or could mean lack of emotional regulation or could mean they've created fantasy version of you that has little to do with who you actually are. And coming to make you mine, that language reveals something important. It's possessive, it's about claiming, it's treating you as territory to be acquired rather than as autonomous person to be known and chosen by mutually. So if someone's thinking about you obsessively, if they're building toward some declaration or action about making you theirs. First question isn't this romantic? First question is this healthy? Because obsession masquerading as love, that's not something to celebrate. That's something to be cautious about. Who comes to mind when you imagine someone feeling this way? Notice whether your gut reaction is excitement or unease, because here's what can't get you off my mind actually indicates. Someone's in repetitive thought loop about you. They're mentally rehearsing scenarios. They're imagining conversations. They're constructing narratives about what exists between you or what could exist between you. And that mental activity, it creates intensity, creates feeling of connection, creates sense that something significant is happening between you, but it's happening in their head, not in shared reality, not in actual interaction, not in reciprocal experience. So they feel connected to you, they feel like they know you, they feel like relationship is building, but you might be completely unaware, or you might be aware but not experiencing equivalent intensity, or you might be actively uninterested but they've misread your signals. That's the danger of internal obsession. It creates asymmetry. One person living in fantasy of connection while other person is just existing normally, unaware of the entire drama unfolding in someone else's mind. Have you been the object of someone's obsessive thinking before? Recall how that actually felt versus how it sounds in theory, because I need to talk about what coming to make you mine suggests. It's action oriented, suggests they're going to do something, going to make move, going to express their feelings or make claim or pursue you in some visible way. And if they do, if they approach with this energy, if they express these intense feelings, your response matters enormously, not just for them, for you, because how you handle someone's obsessive interest, that determines whether it escalates or whether it gets redirected into healthier channels. If you're interested back, if their feelings are welcome, if you've been hoping for this, you still need to slow it down, still need to reality test their fantasy against who you actually are. Still need to establish whether they can see you or whether they're in love with projection. If you're not interested, if their attention is unwelcome, if this feels concerning, you need clear boundaries, direct communication, unambiguous rejection that doesn't leave room for misinterpretation or hope, that keeps them fixated. Either way, you can't be passive, can't just let their intensity wash over you, can't allow their obsession to determine what happens next. You have agency here. Use it. Can you maintain your boundaries even when someone's vulnerable and intense? This is critical skill, because here's what forever promises reveal. They're premature. They're making commitments before knowing if relationship can actually sustain them. They're leaping to conclusion without doing the work of actually building foundation, and premature forever promises their red flags. They suggest someone who's more invested in fantasy of permanent partnership than in reality of getting to know actual person and determining actual compatibility. Real commitment develops over time, after you've seen each other in multiple contexts, after you've navigated conflict, after you've weathered challenges, after you've had enough experience together to assess whether you actually work well as partners, not after someone's been thinking about you obsessively from distance, not before you've even had substantial real world interaction. So if someone approaches you with forever promises, if they're declaring permanent commitment before you've even started dating, that's not devotion, that's fantasy. And fantasy doesn't survive contact with reality. Are you attracted to intensity or to substance? Examine what you're actually drawn to, because I want to address different scenarios this could represent. Scenario 1. Someone you know is building toward confessing feelings they've been harboring, and those feelings have reached intensity where they can't continue without expressing them. If that's what this is, if someone in your life is approaching declaration, prepare yourself. Think about your actual interest level before the moment arrives. Don't let their vulnerability pressure you into response you don't actually mean. You can appreciate their courage while declining their interest. You can care about them without being romantically available. You can be kind without being misleading. Scenario 2. Someone you're not aware of has developed fixation. Someone who's been observing from distance, consuming your social media, building fantasy about who you are and what could exist between you. If that's what this is, if this is describing parasocial obsession, be cautious. This isn't healthy foundation for relationship. This is someone who needs to work on their attachment patterns, not someone who's ready for genuine partnership. If they express these feelings, you're allowed to decline without guilt. You're allowed to find it concerning rather than flattering. Scenario 3, someone you're already involved with is escalating, moving from casual to serious, from ambiguous to committed, and they're preparing to make that shift explicit. If that's what this is, if this is about existing connection intensifying, assess whether escalation is healthy, whether it's happening at pace that allows you both to be conscious, whether commitment is grounded in reality or driven by intensity that might not be sustainable. Which scenario feels most accurate? Trust your instinct about what's actually happening, because here's what happens when obsession gets expressed. If you reciprocate, if you match their intensity, if you leap into the fantasy with them, you create relationship built on intensity rather than on knowing, and intensity burns out, leaving you with either nothing or with realization that you don't actually know each other beneath the intensity. If you don't reciprocate, if you decline their interests, if you establish that you're not available, they might accept it and move on, or they might not. They might intensify their pursuit, might interpret your no as obstacle to overcome rather than as boundary to respect. And that's where obsession becomes concerning, when it can't accept rejection, when it escalates rather than releasing, when it prioritizes its own fantasy over your actual stated preferences. So if you're declining someone's obsessive interest, be clear, be direct, be unambiguous, and watch how they respond to your no. That response tells you everything about whether their feelings are love or something more troubling. Will you be able to say no clearly if that's what's needed? Practice that capacity now, because I also need to address what you might be hoping this is about. You might want someone to feel this way. Might want to be the person someone can't stop thinking about. Might want the validation of being pursued with intensity, and that wanting, it's human. It's the part of us that craves being desired, being chosen, being important enough to occupy someone's mental space. But be careful what you wish for, because obsessive attention, even when it's directed at you, even when it feels validating, it's not the same as being genuinely loved. Obsession is about the obsessed person's internal state, about their needs, their wounds, their patterns. Love is about mutual knowing, about reciprocal care, about both people showing up for reality of each other rather than fantasy. So if you get obsessive attention, if someone declares they can't stop thinking about you, if they promise forever, don't let flattery override assessment. Don't accept intensity as substitute for substance. Don't confuse being the object of someone's fixation with being genuinely valued. What do you actually want to be obsessed over or to be genuinely known? Choose based on what creates healthy relationship, not what feels exciting. Because ultimately, here's what this comes down to. Someone might be thinking about you obsessively, might be building toward making move, might be preparing to declare intense feelings and forever commitment, and you get to decide how to respond based on your actual interest, based on whether their feelings seem healthy or concerning, based on whether you want what they're offering, not based on guilt about their vulnerability, not based on flattery about being desired, not based on fear of disappointing them, based on what actually serves you, what actually feels right, what actually aligns with the kind of relationship you want to build. So if this happens, if someone approaches with this energy, take time. Don't respond immediately. Assess whether what they're offering is something you want, whether their intensity feels healthy or unhealthy, whether they can see you or whether they're fixated on projection, and then respond from clarity. Whether that's, yes, I'm interested in exploring this, or no, this isn't what I want, or I need you to slow down and let's see if reality matches your fantasy. All valid responses, all appropriate depending on your assessment, but make it your choice, your agency, your power. Don't let their obsession determine your path. Don't let their intensity override your knowing about what serves you. You're the authority on your life, not their feelings about you, not their fantasy about forever you. Remember that when the moment comes, and choose accordingly. Obsession isn't love. Forever promises aren't commitment. Mental fixation isn't connection. Demand reality over fantasy. Demand knowing over intensity. Demand actual partnership over possessive claiming. Anything less isn't worth your time.